would like to share with you a few things that I'm learning in my personal development journey. And this is something that I've called the 4 stages of learning. We all go through life, and one thing that we have to do is we have to keep on learning. In fact, I once read a statement that if you're green, you grow. But if you're ripe, you rot. What does that mean? It means that if you're green, you keep on learning, you keep on increasing on your knowledge, you keep on increasing your skill sets, then you will grow in the sense that you will progress, you will thrive in your personal and professional journey. However, if you feel you have arrived, if you feel you know it all, if you feel what more do I need to learn, then you begin to rot. In other words, you begin to become complacent, you begin to plateau, you begin to stagnate, you begin to retrogress. You begin to feel like you're not making progress in your life. And that's why I think it's important for us to reflect about how we are learning skills. So one question I would like us to think about, feel free to type it in the chat or feel free to just think about it. What new skill have you learned recently? I will give you just about 10 seconds to think about that question. Feel free to unmute and share, or you can type in the chat. It's okay. What new skill have you learned recently? Recently, I mean maybe in the past 1 month or 2 or 3, or even just between March and today. What new skill have you learned? Good. When you think about skills, and today we'd like to share how we learn new skills or how we develop new habits. Why? Because success is really about habits. It's about building a set of skills or habits that can help you to become a better person in your life. When you think about skills like swimming, skills like public speaking, I do training in public speaking, and I very much appreciate and I can coordinate how this fits into the skills that we learn. So public speaking, playing an instrument, in case you know how to play an instrument, you can imagine what you had to go through to learn it, or if it is something that you have recently learned. Think about cycling, as simple as cycling, maybe riding a bicycle, cooking, or any other skill that you can think about. Think about any skill that you have learned recently or any skill that you would like to learn. For us to learn a new skill, we have to go through 4 stages. And here they are. This is just a summary of them, and then I will go into the depth of it. The first stage is what we call unconscious incompetence, okay? Then the second stage is what we call conscious incompetence. The third stage is called conscious competence, and the fourth is unconscious competence. Now, don't mind about the words or the jargon. I'm going to run through it quickly so that you can grasp it. But the gist of this is for you to appreciate that this is what we all go through to learn anything new. If you have ever learned a new skill, any skill that you have ever acquired, right now, if you can drive a car, if you know how to ride a bicycle, if you know how to do anything, maybe play an instrument or even learn a language, any skill that you know goes through these 4 stages. Now, let me just share with you how relevant this is for us. The first stage is what is called unconscious incompetence. Unconscious incompetence. What does that mean? Just from those words, unconscious means you don't know, okay? Incompetent means you don't know how to do something. So if you're learning a skill and you are at this stage, it means that you don't know that you don't know, okay? So this is something that already, right now, it's hard to figure it out because already you don't know, but even more, you don't know that you don't know, okay? You are unaware of your lack of skill. So you don't even know that you don't know a particular skill. That can sound a bit confusing, but I hope you'll capture what this is all about. So you are unaware of your lack of skill. You don't realize, you may know that you don't know, but you don't realize the need to learn, okay? If I can just give you an example. I learned how to drive a car, and when I was learning, mainly I learned how to drive an automatic car because that's what I was going to be driving, okay? Now, I didn't know how to drive a manual car, okay? Now, I knew that I didn't know, but I didn't think I need to know, So I was in this stage. I didn't know how to drive it, but at the same time, I didn't think I needed to learn how to drive a manual car because I didn't think I would, need it. The same thing could apply to you right here. Maybe you are at a point where, take for example, if you don't know German, of course, you know that you don't know how to speak the language German, but Imagine an opportunity came for you to go to Germany. Now you would realize that you need to know. But as of now, there is no need for you to learn the language. So you probably don't realize that you need to learn it. I hope this makes sense. So a good example here is online meetings before COVID. You know, most of us didn't know how to do online meetings. We didn't know how to use Zoom. Maybe some people knew about it, but they probably didn't think, why should I learn this? Come on. I can always meet people physically. What's the chance that I will be running meetings online? So probably you were at a stage where you didn't realize that you needed to learn something. So it's called unconscious incompetence. So you don't know that you don't know. Okay. Now, when you go past that level, this is the stage of ignorance. Okay, you are ignorant about something. You don't realize that you need to learn it. Okay. Now, the second stage is what we call conscious incompetence. That simply means that you now know that you don't know. Okay, you now realize that, my goodness, I don't know how to do something. It has now dawned on you. You have become aware of your need to learn a new skill. You realize that you need to learn something. Okay, so again, back to my example of driving a manual car. So for all these years, I've been driving an automatic car. I didn't think I needed to learn how to drive an manual car. And then one day I get a job assignment, a work assignment, which required me to use a manual car. So that was the moment of realization that, I need to learn how to drive a manual car. Now, I still do not know how to drive it. That's why I'm still incompetent, but at least now I am conscious. I am aware that I need to learn something here. Okay, so again, if I can go to the example of learning how to speak German, you are at a stage right now, you don't know German, you don't even care that you don't know, it's okay. Then you get an opportunity to go to Germany, you get a job in Germany, and the language to use there is German. Now you realize that I need to learn the language. So you still don't know, which is the incompetence part, but you are conscious, you are aware that you need to know it, you need to learn it, you need to acquire the skill. That's what this is about. This level is called awareness. This is the awareness level. This is the stage you have become aware of your inadequacy. This is the stage you have become aware that you don't know. This is the stage you have become aware that you need to learn something. Moving on to the third stage, which is called now the conscious competence. Okay, this is an interesting stage. This is when you begin to learn how to do something. This is when you begin to learn. You are now undertaking the learning process. Maybe now you have realized, I don't know how to drive a manual car. I need to learn it. So what am I going to do? I'm probably going to go to a driving school and get someone to train me or teach me how to drive a manual car. If I want to learn how to do Zoom, I'm going to find someone who is doing well with online meetings and begin to help me to do it. If I want to learn how to swim, I now realize I don't know, but I need to learn it. Okay, so now I'm going to go and get a swimming coach. I'm going to pay him and I'm going to start going for practice. I'm going to go and begin to try out. Okay, so you begin to learn how to do something. You have to think it, otherwise you'll forget. So this is an example where this is a stage where you are learning something. Maybe you are learning how to swim, and so the coach tells you relax so that you can float. Okay, then they show you how to do the freestyle. And when you get into the water, you probably forget. But you are trying to learn everything. Or you are driving a car, and then when it is time to go uphill, you have to think it. You have to realize that, now I'm in a high gear. I need to come to probably from gear 4 to come to gear 2 so that I can be able to climb the hill. Or you are learning anything, but at this point, this is the stage when you are learning. You are learning how to do something. You have to think it. Or if I can give you another example, I do training people in public speaking. So one of the things in public speaking is, using your hands. Now there are people who might be used to speaking with their hands in their pocket, or speaking with their arms akimbo, or speaking with their arms folded. Now you tell them, look, when you are speaking, be hands-free. But you see, at this point, you still have to think it. There is a high chance that when you go in front, you will still do what you normally do. You'll either put your hands in the pocket or you'll fold your arms, because you have to think. And then probably in the middle, you realize that, I was told I need to use my hands when I'm speaking. So it is a stage when you are learning to be competent, but at the same time, you are conscious. Everything you do, you have to think it. So it takes effort. Effort in terms of time, effort in terms of energy, effort in terms of courage, because you probably have to overcome your fear of doing certain things if you want to learn how to swim. And for a long time, you have said, for me, I don't need to learn. But now you realize you need to learn. And then you go an extra mile and start paying someone. Then you have realized that, I need to learn. I remember one time specifically about swimming. For a long time, I didn't know how to swim. For a very long time. I think up to about 3 years ago, okay? So one time we go to a trip, just a holiday in Mauritius, beautiful island near Madagascar, off the Indian Ocean, on the Indian Ocean. So all the water sports were, the first requirement was, do you know how to swim? No, then you can't do this. I almost couldn't do anything. I almost couldn't do anything. So I remember that night, I came to the realization that, Jesse, I need to learn how to swim. So I go to 2-second stage, conscious incompetence. And then I remember that night I went with a friend to the swimming pool of the hotel where we were staying. And then he just showed me how to float. That is all he did. He just said, relax and float. So I remember I tried it out for about 2 hours, just learning how to be calm in the water in the night, So the following day, I went back to the water sports and I said, at least I can do snorkeling. Snorkeling is where you put on goggles in the water and then you can float so that you can see the water animals, the fish in the water. So just because I had learned how to float overnight, I went and I did that snorkeling activity, and since then when I came back to Kampala, I had to go hire someone, pay him so that he could train me how to swim. So I was now at a stage of conscious competence. Everything I'm doing, I have to think it. I have to learn it. I had to drink some water, of course. I had to sink sometimes. It took me some time to float comfortably. So this is a stage of learning. The key word here is learning. Now, moving from this stage to the next stage takes practice. It's all about practice, practice, and practice, okay? So one thing I love about this is that, like Malcolm Gladwell said, practice is not the thing you do once you're good. No, it's the thing you do that makes you good. So whatever skill it is that you are learning, all that is required is for you to practice, because practice makes progress. We were taught that practice makes perfect, but I beg to differ slightly. I truly believe that practice makes progress. Why? You may not get to perfection. As a matter of fact, I don't know anyone who is perfect at anything, but you can surely make progress. As long as you're in this world, you may not be perfect, but you can grow, you can get better. I remember when I was learning how to drive, my dad told me something. He said, every time you sit behind the steering, you get an inch better. And I thought that was so profound, because every time you do something, you practice. The more you practice, the better you get. Practice makes progress, or practice makes improvement. The more you do something, the better you get at it. I mean, when I began to learn how to drive a manual car, I then began to practice and practice and practice and practice. Now, I got to a point when I drove that car almost 1,000 kilometers. And that's when I got into the fourth stage, which is unconscious competence. What does that mean? It means that you now know how to do something. You know it so well that it almost becomes second nature. Even if they woke you up in the middle of the night, you would go and do it. Right now I know how to drive a manual car. I don't have to think it when I'm driving and I come to the humps. I don't have to say, now I have to get clutch brake. No, it's almost automatic. If a cow if a cow is just crossing the road and it came abruptly, I wouldn't have to think of what to do. I know what to do. I will subconsciously do it. It becomes automatic or subconscious. This is the unconscious competence. This is the stage of mastery. This is when you become an expert. This is when something is part and parcel of you. This is when you look at someone doing something and you wonder, how do they do it? Now, what do these tell us? One thing about this process is we should never stop improving, because we have said you start from unconscious incompetence. When you don't know, you are a novice. You don't know that you don't know. And then you get to conscious incompetence. You now realize that, I need to learn how to do something. And then as you begin to practice, you become conscious competence. You now know, but you have to think it. And then you get to a level when you become an expert. So you are unconscious, but you are competent about it because you know how to do it. Even if they woke you up at night, you would certainly do it. Now, at that level, there are two things that could happen. One, If you continue to grow, if you continue to add value to yourself, if you continue to attend courses, if you continue to, read books, if you continue to find coaches, if you continue to add value to yourself, you could become a master and become world class. That's one. Two, the second option that you have at this level is if you become complacent and say, I know it, I'm now an expert. Why go to that conference? Why read that book? Why read the last research that was done on this subject? No, I know my stuff. I've been a lawyer for the last 20 years. I know my stuff. I've been a doctor for the last 10 years. I know my stuff. Come on, I don't need to add anything. What more can I learn? They tell you there is this guy is going to be talking about something and you're thinking, come on, I have been on this thing for over 10 years. What more does this guy need to teach me? If you get that mindset, you become complacent. And if you're not careful, you could stagnate. And if you're not careful, you could even begin to go down. So the whole point of this is never stop improving. For you to become a master at anything, you have to keep on doing it. You have to keep on adding value to yourself. Whatever it is that you're doing, add value to yourself, because repetition is the key to mastery. The key to mastery, the key to becoming a master at anything is repetition. The more you do something, the better you get at it. So anyone who is watching this right now, if you want to get better at anything, it takes repetition. In fact, a gentleman, Malcolm Gladwell, in his book Outliers, talks about the 10,000 hour rule. What that simply says is that it takes 10,000 hours of working at something to become an expert at it. 10,000 hours. Now, when we talk about 10,000 hours, we don't just mean 8 to 5 p.m. No. It means how much of that time are you actually working? Because if you go to work at 8 and you spend 2 hours chit-chatting in the cafeteria, you spend another 30 minutes walking with a bottle of water, chatting around friends at the water bottle, and then you spend another time maybe doing something. Look, we are only counting the hours that you ask. It's possible that some of us work for 8 hours, we go to office for 8 hours, but we actually work for 2 hours. So we are counting the productive time. One thing I would like to leave with you is work all the time you work. When it is time to work, work. When it is time to rest, rest. Do the right thing at the right time. So he says, if you spend 10,000 hours doing something over time, after 10,000 hours of work, putting 10,000 hours into an activity, you will then become a master at it. So what does that imply? In conclusion, it means that we need patience. So whenever you are learning a new skill or you are teaching someone a new skill, realize the learning process, because it is also biological, by the way. Because when you are learning how to do something, you are building neural pathways in the brain. So every time you do it, you are like building a new path. So for example, if you go to a place where, let's say, okay, if I could give you this example, you've seen places like in the lawn, like if you find a nice piece of, maybe a place with grass, okay, and they say, you find the place, it is plain, it looks beautiful, it is good, okay? And then over time, people keep on trespassing. People keep on passing on the lawn. People keep on passing on the lawn. You realize that where people keep on passing, there develops a footpath. That footpath develops because of the continuous passing of people on that place. In the same way, the more times you do something, the more you build neural pathways in the brain. So in the same way, you need patience for those pathways to develop. I hope that example makes sense. So the first thing you need to know is you need to be patient. When you are learning something, be patient with yourself. If you see someone who is at a stage of mastery and yet here you are a beginner, relax. It has taken that person some time to get to where they are. Give yourself time, be patient with yourself, because one day, after all these hours of work, you'll become an expert, you'll become a master. The first thing you need to take away from this is be patient with yourself. And if you're in a position where you're training someone, don't lose patience with them, because this is a process. It takes time for them to learn. The first thing, patience. The second thing, practice. Practice makes progress. Practice does not make perfect. You will not become perfect, but you can get better each time you try. So practice. If you're learning anything, practice. If you go to obtain a public speaking training, you learn how to speak. Thank you. And you only take that knowledge and you keep it. It is said what you don't use, you lose. If you're writing notes, write that somewhere. What you don't use, in fact, write it in personal tense, what I call personal tense. What I don't use, I lose. In other words, whatever you have gained that you are not applying, that you are not using, that you are not putting to utilization, then you are losing it. So practice is the key to progress. Practice. And then the last thing is perseverance. Perseverance, because there will be times of frustration. Perseverance, because there will be times when you probably do something and it fails, because you're still learning. You're not yet an expert. It is easy to get discouraged. It's easy to try and learn how to swim, and each time you try, you are sinking. Each time you try, you are drinking the water. Each time you try, the water enters your eyes, enters your nose, enters your ears. You are learning how to drive a car, and each time you try, the car stops. I will never forget one time I was driving on a hill and the car stopped, and everyone behind me began to hoot. At that moment, I was thinking, just why are you going through this? Why don't you just relax, stop, and go and do what you normally do? But you see, you have to persevere. That is the process of learning a new skill. If you're not ready to go through the process, you will not get to the end. So that is what the 4 stages of learning are all about. But the helpful takeaways for you to get is, 1, be patient with yourself and be patient with others. Number 2, practice. Practice and practice. So whatever it is you're doing, if it is your career, put in the effort, put in the work. For you to master that skill, it takes time. It takes time. Oak trees do not grow overnight. Onions can grow in a matter of weeks, but oak trees take time. And oak trees are the strongest trees. So whatever it is, anything good is going to take time. You cannot shortwave nature. If a woman is supposed to give birth in 9 months, they have to be 9 months. You cannot say, for me, I want the baby in 2 months. No. Go through the process. Go through the process. Maxwell says, leadership does not develop in a day. It develops daily. And I believe that's what skills are. Skills do not come in a day. They come daily. And lastly, remember, persevere. Go through the process. Keep on keeping on. Yes, sometimes you'll try and things will not work. Thank you. Move on. Keep on keeping on. Right now, everywhere we see lights. The person who invented the light bulb, Thomas Edison, tried about 10,000 times. But all these times, they had failed until the 10,000th time, when finally he discovered what worked. So if you're learning a new skill, remember, keep on trying. But as you keep on trying, don't keep doing the same thing. If something does not work, simply adjust something as you try again. It is Albert Einstein who said, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, expecting a different outcome. So you can persevere while changing the tactic, while changing the approach, while changing something. So keep on changing. If something does not work, adjust, make an adjustment, and keep on progressing. Keep on trying again. Don't give up, and you'll finally get the skill. Great. So thank you so much. You can connect with me on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel where I upload quite a number of videos. I have learned to do this myself, and this is another skill that I have learned since May during the lockdown. I had always wanted to do this, but for some reason I always thought it would take a lot. It was too expensive. I would need expensive equipment, until I said, wait, I have a camera. We normally take videos of other things. Why not take a video of myself? And then I found someone to teach me how to do video editing. That took me quite some time. But like I said, be patient, practice, and persevere. I'll tell you this, sometimes I slept at 2 a.m. just learning how to use that editing software. But I'm glad now. I am not yet where I want to be, but I'm not where I used to be. I'm still learning. So that has been now part of my experience with the YouTube channel. It's Jesse Inebiona. You can go find quite a number of videos there, Facebook and on Twitter. And with that, I would like to appreciate you so much for listening. Thank you. And I'll look forward to the questions that you would like to put forward, or any comments, questions, or observations. Thank you.